Okay, good afternoon to you all. Can you all hear me?
Yes, madam.
Yes, madam.
Yes, madam.
Okay. So today we have the third session of your lecture series. So as you know, Friday also I'm going to take the lecture hour of the Math 1112, I guess. Friday 3:30 to 5:30, right? So this time slot and this Friday 3:30, 5:30, the fourth session is going to conduct it. So up to now, before starting the lecture, I think you all gone through the LMS. There is a notice about the guidelines of submitting your tutorials, right? So, and also the first tutorial also has been uploaded. So you have to submit the answers to the tutorials in given due date. The guidelines are given, so you have to write your answers in half sheets. I think it's clear. So then you should prepare a PDF file, right? So once you have written your answer sheets, you can take either photo and put it into a Word document and then obtain a PDF file, or either all of your phones, I think, have the CAM scanner. So using that CAM scanner, you can directly get your PDF, right? The handwritten answers. So either way, you can upload your answers, but only PDF files. Okay. So the submission date has been given in the tutorial. Okay. So is there any question regarding that? I think it's clear. The instructions are given, right? Okay. So we are discussing on some probability, basic concepts of probability. In the first session, what is a sample, what is a sample space, and what is an event, what is a random experiment, some basic terminologies. Type documents are not allowed. You have to write answers in half sheets. You have to write answers in half sheets. You can't type the answers. You have to write on a paper your handwritten answers, right? So each page there should be your index number. So you have to upload the PDF file. You can either take a photo and paste those images in a Word document and convert into a PDF and then upload. Or either using a CAM scanner directly, you can use your phone camera of the phone and obtain the PDF file through the CAM scanner, right? Then upload it to, and also you have to rename the document as your index number and the tutorial number, then upload, right? So typed documents are not allowed. You have to write your answers in half sheets. Okay, so yes, basic concepts of probability. The types of probability: classical, objective, classical, objective, and subjective. Classical, empirical, and subjective. And then some basic probability rules: multiplication rule, addition rule, and also when we are discussing addition rule, there are two options when the two events are mutually exclusive and when two events are mutually not exclusive. And when talking about the multiplication rule, when the events are independent and not independent, and conditional probabilities, those things we discussed in last lecture sessions, right? So today, I think you have downloaded the note. Okay, there is another message. Can we take photos and then put it in Word and then convert? Yes, that's okay. Where to submit? We will upload a link to submit the tutorial, right? We will give you the link in LMS to upload the tutorial. Okay, this is the today's note. So we are going to learn today about counting rules and some important theories, total probability, rule of total probability and Bayes theorem, all those things also you have learned under your A-level mathematics, right? As I said in last sessions, I'm just recalling them, right? So counting rules, that is counting rule. So you know, in A-level, you have learned Sankarana Sangyojana. In A-level, there is a lesson called Sankarana Sangyojana. So counting rules, under counting rules, we are going to learn those permutations and combinations, right? In order to compute the probability of an event, you need to know the number of outcomes in the sample space and the number of outcomes in the event. To determine this number, 3 rules can be used: fundamental counting rule, permutation rule, and the combination rule, right? So when we are dealing with the probability, we want to know the sample space, right? Not how many number of outcomes in the sample space and how many outcomes in the event. So it is important to know the number of outcomes in the sample spaces and the number of outcomes in the events. So the way of obtaining the number of outcomes or number of outcomes in the event or sample space, there are 3 basic ways. We can use either fundamental counting rule or permutation rule and combination rule, right? So there are 3 ways we can obtain the number of outcomes in the sample space and in the event, right? So in the fundamental counting rule, it is used when there are multiple independent events. When the events are independent only, we can use this fundamental counting rule, each with their own outcomes, and you want to know how many outcomes there are for all the events together. So in the sequence of n events, which the first one has k1 possibilities, and the second event has k2 probabilities, third has k3, and so forth, the total number of possibilities of the sequence will be the multiplication of the possibilities of each event, right? K1 into K2 into K3 up to Kn, right? Here the n means the multiply. When there are n number of events where each event has ki number of possibilities, then the total number of possibilities can be obtained by multiplying each and every possibility corresponding to the event, right? That is the fundamental counting rule. So for an example, at the local ice cream shop, there are 5 flavors of homemade ice creams. There are 5 flavors: vanilla, chocolate, strawberry, cookie dough, and coffee. You can choose to have your ice cream in a dish or in a cone. How many possible ice cream orders are there? So there are 2 events. The first event is choosing the ice cream flavor, choosing the flavor. Vanilla, chocolate, strawberry, cookie dough, either coffee. And the second event is you can choose either dish or a cone, right? So how many possible ice cream orders are there, right? So there are 5 possibilities of choosing the flavor, and there are 2 possibilities of choosing the dish or cone, right? There are 2 possibilities, dish or cone, the way they serve. So if you list them all out, you will see that there are 10 ice cream orders for each of the 5 flavors. There are 2 choices for how the ice cream is served, dish or cone. So there are 5 possibilities to choose the flavor. There are 2 possibilities to choose the way of serve. So 5 into 2, there are 10. That means either you can choose vanilla in a dish, vanilla in a cone, then chocolate in a dish, chocolate in a cone. Likewise, there are 10 possibilities. So the sample space, in the sample space, there are 10 outcomes. Altogether, there are 10 outcomes. For the first event, 5, and the second event, 2. So they are independent. Therefore, we can use the fundamental counting rule. Okay. So the next example, the manager of a department store chain wishes to make 4-digit identification cards for her employees. How many different cards can be made if she uses the digits 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6? And repetitions are permitted. So now we have to make 4-digit identification cards. There are 4 digits. In the identification number, there are only 4 digits, 4 places, right? So we can use 6 possible numbers or digits, and repetitions are permitted, right? So in this case, so we have 4 digits in the identification card, right? So if there are 4 events now: choosing the first digit of the identification number, choosing the second digit, choosing the third digit, and choosing the 4th digit, right? So there are 6 possibilities of choosing the first digit, right? There are 6 possibilities. And when the repetition are permitted, again, there are 6 possibilities to choose the second digit. And also there are 6 for third. Oops. Wait. Wait a minute. Okay, can you see it now? So there are 6 possibilities of choosing the first event, first digit. There are 6 possibilities again, since the repetitions are permitted. Again 6 and again 6. So altogether there are 1296 possibilities. We can use the fundamental counting rule to calculate the number of possibilities or the total number of outcomes in that event, right? So now what if repetitions are not permitted? When the repetition are not permitted, so again there are 4 digits in the identification number. So there are 6 possibilities to choose the first number, but the repetition are not permitted. Therefore, when it comes to the second place, there are only 5 possibilities. And to the third digit, it's 4, and here it's 3. So altogether, there are 360 possibilities to choose 4 digits for the identification card, right? So that is how the fundamental rule works, okay? So the next rule is permutation rule. Here, order of selection is considered. A permutation is an arrangement of n objects in a specific order. This is used when you are counting the number of ways to choose and arrange a given number of objects from a set of objects, right? So here the order is very important. Not only choose the objects, we have to arrange them, right? The order matters here. So permutation rule. For an example, from a class with 28 students, the teacher chose first, second, and third place winners in an art competition. In how many ways could she have chosen the first, second, and third place winners? So here there are 28 students, altogether 28. So now teacher has to select 3 students as the winners. 3 students as the winners, and not only that, she has to assign the places. Who is the first, who is the second, and who is the third. Likewise, she has to order the selections. So this is a permutation problem, since the number of ways to choose and arrange 3 students from a set of 28 students. We have not only to choose but arrange them in order. So this is a permutation problem, right? So there are 3 events. Event A is teacher choosing first place. Event B is teacher choosing second place after first place has been chosen. And event C is the teacher choosing third place after first and second place have been chosen. Right? So, event A has 28 outcomes because there are 28 students in the class. So, it's the same as before. Right? So, event A, choosing the first place, there are 28 possibilities. So, when choosing the second place after first place has been chosen, so one student is omitted from the list because that student is the first, students got the first place. So there are 27 students left. We have 27 ways to select the second place. And now when it comes to third place, we have omitted the first place as well as the second place. So now there is only 26 possibilities of choosing the third place, right? So if we use the fundamental counting rule, since the choosing places are independent, we can write it as multiplication of 3 possibilities or 3 events, 28 into 27 into 26, right? Is that clear up to now? I think yes, right? So now I can write this as 28 into 27 into 26 and 25, 24 up to 3, 2, 1 and divide the same by 25, 24, 3, 2, 1. So nothing has been changed, right? I multiply the upper part by 25, 24 into 3, 2, 1 and divided by the same, right? So nothing has been changed. So now I can write the upper part as the permutation of 28, right? And here it's permutation of 25. And I can write this 28 by 28 minus 3. So nothing has been changed, right? So this is the idea behind the permutation formula. So this can use the fundamental counting rule can be used as the base of permutation formula, okay? So permutation formula, the arrangement of n objects in a specific order using r objects at a time is called a permutation of n objects taking r objects at a time. It is written as NPR and the formula is given here. This is the permutation formula. So the last example we can write as we have Okay, can you see the note now?
Yes, madam.
Okay. So now we can write the earlier example as there are 28 students. That means n is equals to 28. So 28 P, we have to select 3 and order them. So 20P 3. Okay. So now it's equal to 28 minus 3. So this is the permutation formula. So using the permutation formula, you can obtain the number of outcomes in a sample space or a number of outcomes in an event, right? Another example, the advertising director for a television show has 7 ads to use on the program. If she selects first of them for the opening of the show, 1 for the middle of the show and 1 for the ending of the show, how many possible ways can this be accomplished? So again, there are 7 possible 7 ads to use, but you have to only select 3 and also you have to order it for the opening, for the middle and for the ending. So you can use either fundamental counting rule or easily you can use the permutation rule. So it is 7P3. Okay. So there is a blank in your note. You can fill the blank. So 7P3. P3 So there are 210 ways to show 3 ads. So the next one is combination rule. Using the combination rule also, you can choose the number of outcomes in a sample space as well as in an event. So here the order of selection is not considered. In permutations, we have to consider the order, but in combination rule, the order is not considered, right? So for an example, the last example we use, a teacher has a classroom of 28 students. She wants 3 of them to do a presentation. And she wants to know how many choices she has for the 3 students. So now we have to choose 3 students out of 28 students, but order doesn't matter, right? So choosing Bobby, Sarah and Matt for the presentation is same as choosing Sarah, Bobby and Matt for the presentation. The order does not matter, We have just only to choose. Okay. So from permutations, you know that there are 19,656 ways to choose and arrange 3 students from the class of 28. That is 28 into 26 into 28 into 27 into 26. So this calculation will be counting each group 3 people more than once. Right? Since order matters in the permutation, we have counted the same people more than once. Right? අපේ කලින් example එකේදී 28න් 3 දෙනෙක් select කරා order එකට. එතකොට අපි හිතමු අපි first place, second place, third place ආවේ Bobby, Sarah and Matt. Correspondingly කියලා Bobby first, Sarah second and third Matt. Right? And එහෙම නැත්නම් අපිට වෙන්න පුළුවන් Sarah first, Bobby second, Matt third වෙන්නත් පුළුවන්. අන්න ඒ order එක matter වෙනවා permutations වලදී. But in combinations the order does not matter. අපිට Bobby, Sarah, Matt ගත්තත් එකයි, Matt, Sarah, Bobby ගත්තත් එකයි, කොයි විදිය ගත්තත් එකයි. Right? So so this calculation will be counting each group of 3 people more than once. So how many times is each group 3 being counted from permutations? 3 chosen people can be arranged in 3p3 ways. Right? අපි 3 දෙනෙක් තෝරගත්තොත් ඒ 3 දෙනාව arrange කරන්න පුළුවන් 3p3 ways. ways 6කට අපි ඒක සුළු කරත් 6 කියලා තමයි answer එක එන්නේ. Right? So this means that every group of 3 has been counted 6 times in the 19,656 calculation. To determine the number of ways the teacher could choose 3 students where the order doesn't matter, take that number and divide by 6 equal 3,276. If order doesn't matter, the number of ways she can select the students is 3,276. If the order matters, it becomes a large number. But since the order does not matter, it becomes a small number. Right? So that is the theory of combination rule. In general, permutation formula can be turned into the combination formula by dividing the number of ways to arrange the R objects where is R. Right? So in permutation principle, we use the permutation formula NPR, that is equals to permutation N divided by N permutation of N minus R. But the combination formula, we have to divide the same formula using the R objects, right? So in permutation rule, it is NPR, that is equals to N over N minus R. And if we remove the same results, then we have to divide this by permutation R. So this is going to equals to NCR. Right? So basically, the thing you have to recall it, there are 3 ways of selecting, or there are 3 ways of obtaining the number of outcomes in a sample space or in an event, fundamental counting rule, permutation rule, and combination rule. So we can use the fundamental rule when the events are independent. So we can multiply the possibilities of each event and then obtain the number of outcomes. In permutation principle, or permutation rule, we can choose from the sample, from the space, from the sample, and then we have to arrange them in order. The order does matter in the permutation, and in the combination we have just to choose. The order doesn't matter there, right? So that is the thing you have to remember. Okay. Consider this example. Given the letters A, B, C, and D, list the permutations and combinations for selecting 2 letters. So we have given 4 letters A, B, C, D. So we have to choose 2 letters out of them. Then if you use the permutation formula, the number of permutations we can write as is NPR. So there are 4 letters out of 4. We have to obtain 2 letters and arrange them in order. So it is 4P2. Now it is 4 minus 2 into 2. Sorry, that is not here. So it is 12. Okay. So the combinations are given here. We can either choose AB, AB, ACAD, BABCBD, CACBCD, DADBDC. Those are the possibilities, right? So in combinations, the order does not matter, right? So it's AB is same as BA. So this is repeating. ACE is same as CA. So again it is repeating. AD is same as DA. Order does not matter. BC is same as CB. BD is same as DB. And CD is same as DC. So if we have just to choose 2 letters, we have only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 outcomes, since the order does not matter. So if we use the combination formula, also again, we can obtain the same answer. It is NCR, 4CR, 4C2, that is equals to this one, 4 minus 2, and commutation of 2. So now it is equals to 6. So that is the difference between permutation and combination. Now we can use these counting rules to obtain the probability, right? So we are using the counting rules to obtain the sample space or the number of outcomes in the sample space or an event. So once we know the number of outcomes in the sample space and number of outcomes in event, we can definitely use those information to find the probability. The counting rules can be combined with the probability rules to solve many types of probability problems. Okay, look at this example. Find the probability of getting 4 aces when 5 cards are drawn from an ordinary deck of cards. The problem is getting 4 aces when 5 cards are drawn, right? So altogether, how many ways of selecting 5 cards from a deck? Since the order does not matter here, we can use the combinations here. So altogether there are 52 5 ways to draw 5 cards from a deck, right? So we have to find the probability of getting 4 aces when 5 cards. We have to draw 5 cards. Out of 5, there should be 4 aces. The other one can be any, right? So we want to find the probability of obtaining 4 aces. Now, the number of all possibilities of choosing 5 cards are 52C5. And out of these outcomes, we need to obtain 4 aces and the other card can be any. So there is only one way of selecting all 4 aces, and when all 4 aces are drawn, there are remaining 48 cards.
That is very big.
Is there any problem?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, ask. You can ask the question. Do you have any problem? If you have any problem, you can raise your hands and ask. Okay, I think there is no any. So That is how the counting rule works. So then let's move to the contingency tables. So we can obtain the probabilities using a contingency tables also, right? Another alternative is that probabilities can be estimated from contingency tables. Relative frequency is used as before, this time for past experience. Contingency tables display all possible combined outcomes and the frequency with which each of them has happened in the past. These frequencies are used to calculate the future probabilities. So in contingency tables, we use the past data and using as the frequency values, and then use those frequency values, we can obtain the probability values for future events, right? So consider this example. A new supermarket is to be built in Bradfield. In order to estimate the requirements of the local community, a survey was carried out with a similar community in a neighboring area. Part of results of this is summarized in the table below, right? So this is an example of contingency table. So there are two events: the mode of travel and expenditure on drink, right? So there are three possibilities in mode of travel: on foot, by bus, or by car. And under the event expenditure on drink, again there are three possibilities: none, and 1 and under 20 euro, and at least 20 euro, right? So this is called a contingency table. The frequencies for each possibility is obtained as total, right? There are column-wise totals and row-wise totals are given. These types of tables are called contingency tables, right? So using these contingency tables, we can obtain the probabilities. Suppose we put all the till invoices into a drum and thoroughly mix them up. If we close our eyes and take out one invoice, we have selected one customer at random, right? We first complete all the row and column totals. So when you are given this type of table, first step you have to do is we have to obtain the row and column totals. So from the subtotals, we can now calculate the probabilities, right? Subtotals are the row totals and column totals, okay? So we have to find the probability customer spends at least 20 euro, right? We have to obtain the probability customer spends at least 20 euro. So altogether, there are 250 people, and out of those 250, how many customers have spent at least 20 euros? That is the thing we have to find. At least 20 euros means the number here, the 67. There are 67 people has spent at least 20 euros out of 250. So the probability should be 67 over 250. It is 0.268. Right? Then probability customer will travel by car. Again, there are 250 possibilities. Out of the 250, how many has been traveled by the car? There are 100. So it is 100 over 250. It is 0.4. Right? And also from the sales, we can calculate. Sales means those things, right? In the sales of the table. probability customer spends over 20 euro and travels by car. And, right, both events has happened. Customer spends over 20 euros and travel by car. So we have to consider this row, this column, and this column, right? Sorry, over 20 euros. So we have to consider this column. Customer spends over 20 euro and travels by a car. So we want this number. 42 people out of 250 has been spent over 20 euros on drink and travel by car. So it is 42 over 250. So next one, customer arrives on foot and spends no money or drink. So arrives on foot and no money on drink. So it should be this. So 40 over 250, it is 0.16. So fill the other two blanks as well. So this is not and here. Customer spends over 20 euro or travels by car. Not and, or, right? So customer spends over 20 euro or travel by car. Over 20 euro means this column. Or travel by car. So if we choose all the numbers here, the 42 has been mentioned twice, right? So this type of problem, we have to omit the number which appears twice. Okay. So customer spends over 20 euro or travel by car. It is 10 plus 15 plus 42 and then plus 25 plus 33. So the 42 appears once, so therefore we are not adding that one again over 250. So the answer is 0.16. So in the same way, do the next one. Customer arrives on foot or spends no money on drink. So the answer should be 0.5. So the last two values are probably more easily. So these two can be easily calculated by adding the row and column totals and then subtracting the interest in cell which has been included twice. Right? So here this answer is not correct, I guess. Ah, no, it's right. No, it's right. Here the answer is not correct neither. This one is not correct. This is also 0.5. So the next one, a customer will spend less than 20 euros, less than 20 euros, right? So in that case, we have to add up first two columns, right? 95 and 88. And then next one, a customer will not travel by a car, will not travel by a car. That means number of people who come on foot and by bus. So 70 plus 88 over 250. So it should be 0.6. Then a customer will not travel by car and will spend less than 20 euros. Customer will not travel by car. That means people who travel by bus or on foot will spend less than 20 euros. So we have to add up those four things together and divide by 250. So it becomes 0.5. A customer will not travel by car or will spend less than 20 euros. The answer should be 0. I think now you can find it. 832. So any questions up to now? So up to now we have discussed about counting rules, fundamental counting rule, permutations and combinations, number of ways, or the number of outcomes in the sample space or an event. And using the counting rules, we obtained probabilities, and then we discussed about the contingency tables. Using the contingency tables also, we learned how to obtain probability values. So now we are moving on. Explain the last one. Right, okay. Let me show. A customer will not travel by car or will spend less than 20 euros. Right, a customer will not travel by a car means he or she travel by bus or on foot, right? So that means on foot or by bus. And or will spend less than 20 euros. Less than 20 means these two columns. Right? Now we have to add all the entries here and subtract the counts where it appears twice. So here 40, 20, 10, 30, 35, 15 plus 25 and 33. Sorry. These two are not coming since these are totals. Right? Or we can just add up 70, 40 and here the value in here and value in here and multiply, subtract the 4 values appear here twice. I think now it's clear. So conditional, we are going to learn now the Bayes theorem, right? So Bayes theorem actually based on the conditional probability. So when we go on to the Bayes theorem, we have to go through total probability, less than 20 euros. No, we can't use it. But here we are using O, not and. Right? So here, කාටහරි ප්‍රශ්නයක් ඇති අය මෙතන 10 and 15 ගත්ත කියලා. අපි මෙතනද and නෙමෙයි consider කරන්නේ O. Right? So ඔක්කොම outcomes ටික එන්න ඕන. අපි ඒක consider කරේ on foot or by bus යටතේ. Right? Okay. Third 70. Yes, 70 plus 80 plus 95. Sorry. Yes, 95 plus 8. Yes. Yes, you are correct. Save only. Yes. The answer should be 0.832, right? Okay, conditional probability and Bayes theorem. In many situations, additional information about the result of a probability experiment is known. So, you know what is a conditional probability. In last lecture, we learned what is a conditional probability. When some information is given, the probability of happening another event is called conditional probability. The additional information is provided in conditional probability. Okay. So For event A and B with B greater than 0, the conditional probability of A given B denoted PA given B given A of A given B. Yes, A given B denoted by P A given B. The equation is provided. So you already have learned about this equation. This is the conditional probability equation. In computing a conditional probability, we assume that we know the outcome of the experiment is in event B, and then given that additional information, we calculate the probability that the outcome is also in event A. So additional information provided that B has happened. So if B has happened, what is the probability of happening A is the conditional probability, right? So consider this example. Tossing a fair coin twice, define D to be the event that at least one tails is recorded. So when we toss a fair coin twice, we know that the sample space is 4. There are 4 outcomes: HT, TH, TT, and HH, right? So that is the sample space. So the sample space is HH, HT, TH, and TT, right? This is the sample space. So it is TT. This is the sample of space. There are 4 outcomes when we toss fair coin twice, right? So if we consider an event D to be the event that at least one tail is recorded, at least one tail. So we can omit the outcome of obtaining head twice, HH, and the outcomes, number of outcomes in event D is 3, HT, TH, and TT. Let's calculate the conditional probability of A given D, i.e. the probability that at least one head is recorded, assuming that at least one tail is recorded event D. So another event A is introduced here. The event A is at least one head is recorded. At least one head is recorded. So we can write A, at least the number of outcomes here, at least one head recorded. So HH and T, H and HT. So that is the number of outcomes or the sample space in event A, right? So we are asking here, calculate the conditional probability of A given D. What is the probability of happening A once it has given that D has already happened? So this is the conditional probability. So according to the conditional probability, we can write this formula. It is PA intersection D over PD, right? So P intersection D means, what is the intersection of A and D here? HT and TH. So there are 2 out of 4. That is the probability of P, probability of A intersection D. It is 2 over 4. Out of 4 events, there are 2 outcomes where A and D intersects, right? So it's 2 out of 4. And PD, number of outcomes, or the probability is 3/4, right? So it is equals to 0.67. So that is the conditional probability of A given D, right? So what is the probability of A without the conditional term? A කියන්නේ එක head එකක්වත් තියෙන probability එක, it is 3/4 නේ. This is 3/4. So it is 0.75. Now you can see the difference here. When there is no any condition, probability of happening A is 0.75. But if we put the condition that D has already happened, the probability reduced, right? So knowing that at least one tail was recorded, assuming event D occurred, the conditional probability of A given D decreased. This is because if event D occurs, then the outcome HH in A cannot occur, thereby decreasing the chances that event A occurs. So now I think the concept of conditional probability is clearly explained, right? Okay. Do this example. I'll give you 5 minutes to complete this.
Excuse me, madam.
Yes.
What does it mean if we instead know that the card is black?
Black. So you know there are two colors in card deck, red and black.
Okay, okay,
Right?
okay, madam. Okay.
Okay, those who are finished, then you can send me the answers in the chat. Okay, yes, the answer is correct. Yes, answer is correct, right? So no need to explain, I guess. So if we know that the card is a king, what is the probability that the card is club? Right? So first one, I just write so I think it's no need to explain, right? So this is 0.25 and this is 0.5. So it's very easy, right? Okay. Okay, the properties of conditional probabilities. The first property below referred to as the multiplication law is simply a rearrangement of the probabilities used to define conditional probability. The multiplication law provides a way for computing the probability of an intersection of events when the conditional probabilities are known. So you know the multiplication rule. So under the conditional probability, we discussed the multiplication rule, right? So another two properties we are discussing here, the law of total probability and the Bayes rule, right? So in A level also, you have learned what is the total of law of total probability මුළු සම්භාවිතා ප්‍රමේය මම මතක විදිහට නම් and the Bayes rule එක දන්නවනේ ඔයගොල්ලෝ අන්න ඒ දෙකත් එක multiplication law එක they are the properties of conditional probabilities. All the three things, multiplication law, law of total probability and the Bayes rule are based on the conditional probability, right? The next two properties are useful when a partition of the sample space exists, where a partition is a way of dividing up the outcomes in the sample space into non-overlapping sets. So the law of probability and the Bayes rule both are used when the sample space has been partitioned into non-overlapping sets, right? Non-overlapping sets. So if we take the sample space here, if we denote it using a Venn diagram, if this is the sample space S, and when the partitions are in the partitions of the sample space exist, the non-overlapping, but they should non-overlap, right? So in those conditions, we use this law of probability, law of total probability, and the reverse condition, the Bayes rule. So it is called also the reverse conditional probabilities, right? Please excuse me, give me 2 minutes. Okay, so we are using this law of total probability and Bayes rule when the partition of the sample space exists, right? So I'm not going to explain this these sections here, but when I'm discussing the rule of total probability and Bayes rule, all the things written in this paragraph is explaining, right? So just read the paragraph after the lecture, okay? Okay. So first, we are going to discuss the rule of total probability. The theorem says if the events A1, A2 up to AK constitute a partition of a sample space S and PAI does not equals to 0 for I goes 1, 2 to K, then for any event B in S can be written using this equation. The B's constitute a partition. The B's constitute a partition of sample space if they are pairwise mutually exclusive and if their union equals S. Right? So we can explain it using a Venn diagram. So this is S, the sample space. So we can partition. There is some partitions. These are called A1, A2, A3 up to likewise up to AK, right? The sample space has partitions. And then for any event B in S can be written using this equation. So we can define an event B here. So when the sample space part has some partitions and also the another event B is given, so we can calculate the probability of happening B using this equation that is called the rule of total probability or formula of total probability, right? For an example, let's discuss an example and then you will understand. The members of a consulting firm rent cars from 3 rental agencies, 60% from agency 1, 30% from agency 2, and 10% from agency 3. If 9% of the cars come from agency 1 need a tune-up, 20% of the cars come from agency 2 need a tune-up, and 6% of the cars come from agency 3 need a tune-up. What is the probability that rental car delivered to the firm will need a tune-up? So that is the problem here, right? Okay. I'll use a separate screen. Okay. So I am now using this Venn diagram. So there are 3 rent car firms. There are 3 rental agencies. So now my sample space has been divided into 3 partitions, right? So I'll naming this as A1, A2, and A3. Okay. There are 3 firms. 60% from agency 1, 30% from agency 2, and 10% from agency 3. So that means PA1 is equals to 0.6, PA2 is equals to 0.3, and PA3 equals to 0.1. So altogether you can see that it makes 1. The probability of sample space is equals to 1, right? So now my sample space is partitioned into 3 sections from rental agency 1, agency 2, and agency 3, right? If I take B as the car needs a tune-up, right? So I'm taking PB, car needs a tune-up. And another additional information has been given, right? 9% of the cars come from agency 1 need a tune-up. So what is the given information? The car comes from agency 1. So P A1 is given and the event is need a tune-up, right? The cars come from agency 1 need a tune-up. It is 9%, 0.09, and 20% of the cars come from agency 2 need a tune-up. That is car need a tune-up, and it comes from the second agency, it's 20%. And car comes from agency 3 needs a tune-up is equals to 6%. 0.0. Right? Okay. Now the question is, the problem is, what is the probability that rental car delivered to the firm will need a tune-up? Car needs a tune-up, right? So we are asking, what is this? PB. Right? So according to the rule of total probability, we can write PB is equals to the summation of PAI into PB given AI. Right? So this is equals to, I goes from here 1 to 3 since there are 3 partitions. Okay. So 0.6 into PB given A1 is 0.09 plus PA2 0.3 into 0.2 plus 0.1 into 0.06. So answer is 0.12. So is it clear? Is there any problem? So 12% of all the rental cars delivered to the firm will need a tune-up. So here the sample space have partitions and some additional information. The conditional probabilities are given. Okay. Now the thing mentioned here is clear, I guess. In many cases, when a partition exists, from this point onwards, in many cases, when a partition exists, it's easy to compute the conditional probability of an event in the sample space given an event in the partition. The law of total probability then provides a way of using those conditional probabilities of an event given the partition to compute the unconditional probability of the event. So PB is the unconditional probability we have to calculate. Right? PB, it's an unconditional probability. Following the law of total probability, we state Bayes' rule, right? So this is the base under the rule of total, law of total probability, right? Is there any questions? So now I think you can fill these gaps in the note. So PEB is 0.12, right? You can write the answers. Thus, 12% of all the rental cars delivered to the firm will need a tune-up, right? Okay. Do you have lectures after 5:30?
Yes, madam.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, in this example, we are asking the question, what is the probability that rental car delivered to the firm will need a tune-up, right? So if a rental car delivered to the constituting firm needs a tune-up, what is the probability that it came from rental agency too? Right? That is the reverse conditional probability. We are asking the reverse conditional probability. අපිට කලින් දුන්නේ firms තුනකින් agencies තුනකින් අපිට එනවා cars. එතන 60ක් A1 කියන agency එකකින් 30ක් A2 100ක් A3 කියන agencies තුනෙන්. එතකොට අපිට දීලා තියෙනවා A1 වලින් එන car වල engine tune up එකක් ඕන වෙනවා මෙච්චර ගානකට. A2 වලින් එන cars වල මෙච්චර ප්‍රමාණයක් tune up ඕන වෙනවා. A3 වලින් එන එකට මෙච්චර ප්‍රමාණයක් tune ups ඕන වෙනවා කියලා. එතකොට අපෙන් ඇහුවොත් if we select a one car, අපි මොකක් හරි car එකක් select කරගත්තොත් ඒකට tune up එකක් ඕනි නම් ඒ tune up එකක් ඕන උන car එක ආවේ මොන agency එකෙන්ද? ඒ කියන්නේ අපි කර ගත්ත එකේ reverse conditional probability එක. අපි ගත්තේ කලින් P B given A. Now they are asking what is P A given P. B is engine needs a tune-up. Given that a given car needs an engine tune-up, what is the probability that car came from the provided agency, or for an example, agency 2. So the calculation of that problem is based on the Bayes theorem, right? So there is no enough time to discuss the Bayes theorem today. So Friday, let's discuss the rest of the things, right? So if you have any questions or doubts, you can raise your hands and ask, and or chat me. So you have 5 minutes. You can ask if there is any question. Okay, so I guess there is no questions. Okay, so next Friday you have the lecture on 3:30. I'll give you the send the link via LMS, right? Okay. So hope you do not have any questions. So I'll end the session. Okay.
Thank you, madam.
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 Thank you, madam. Thank you, madam.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.